Yo, welcome back. You know what time it is? It is Tuesday at 12. That means we are here with Planning with a Purpose podcast. Myself, Alyssa Lyon, community builder, Muffy Mendoza. Muffy, how are you doing today?
I'm here. I'm tired. I want to finish work like everybody else, but we still working. I'm
Absolutely.
excited to be able to do work that resonates with me though. So grateful.
I love that. We also have a special guest. We have our first guest on our Pittsburgh 2050 Planning with a Purpose podcast. We have Cherrell Fulton. Cherrell, what's up with you? How are you feeling today?
Hey y'all, I am doing well today. Moving along like y'all, pushing through the week, waiting for the weekend to spend some time with my kids. So I'm doing well. I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. We're so excited to have you. We're so excited for you to be our first guest. Before we jump in with Cherrell, before we jump in with Muffy, of course, we have to remind you that this is a weekly live stream hosted by myself and community builder Muffy Mendoza. We will be here every Tuesday at 12. We'll bring community leaders, city leaders, everyday residents, and thought partners to this table to break down Pittsburgh's comprehensive plan and their vision for 2050. We're here to share stories from across the communities, highlight why inclusive city planning matters for the future, and more. And so we're not just on LinkedIn, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube. Catch each episode where we're truly inviting listeners in to learn, to engage, and imagine a sustainable, thriving Pittsburgh one conversation at a time. So that's why we're here today. So today we are joined by Cherrell. Cherrell actually is participating in the comp plan as a community working group member. So we wanted to bring her on, get her perspective, not just as a CWG member, but also as a resident of Homewood, right?
I was, but
Okay.
I just moved to Lincoln. So
Okay.
I was a resident of Homewood for 10 plus years, so like
Mhm.
13 years. I moved out there after my son was born, and we just moved.
Okay. Congratulations. Right up
Thank
the
you.
street.
Yeah, right up the street.
So we're really excited to have you here. And the community working group, her role is as a bridge between residents and the comp plan team. And so she is really integral in helping us understand what is being heard on the ground, pushing out events, and really excited about this. Sherelle gets paid to do all of this, which is important. Got to make sure we pay the people to do the work.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
before we jump right in, tell us a little bit about yourself, Sherelle, as your journey as a mom, a community advocate. What motivates you to be an advocate for these neighborhoods, or
Mhm.
even be a part of the comp plan?
Well, I grew up in Wilkinsburg, but I went to school in Homewood from preschool to eighth grade. So I went to a Catholic school here that lots of folks know. Lots of my friends went here, lots of community residents, elders. So many people went
What
to.
school you go to? Holy Rosary?
I went to Holy Rosary.
Me
Yeah,
too. What? Wait a minute.
exactly. If you was black and you went to a Catholic school, you either went to
Yeah.
Sacred Heart or Holy Rosary. And then later, what was Sister Thea Bowman? What did it used to be called?
It
But
was. It was. Was it St. James? No.
St. James, yes.
No. St. James was. Oh, it was
No,
St.
it was
James.
St.
You're right.
James. So those was like the Catholic schools you went to. So
Mhm.
my parents shipped us down here. So I've been catching that bus on the EBA, the
Mhm.
busway forever since I was a kid, coming down here, and I've always like loved the culture. My dad used to take us to the Harambe. So I used to go to Dorsey's every time he got paid and get a tape or a CD. So as I grew and I later became a mother, um, I just wanted my son to be able to experience culture at least the way that I did. I mean, I learned about so many things here in this all black Catholic school.
Mhm.
So it was just, I don't know. I love the neighborhood of Homewood. So whenever he started to become of age and enroll in school, he started at Crescent Early Childhood. And from there, I learned a lot about advocacy, policy council, parenting in general, just being involved in the community. And that's kind of where my journey started. Learning about the things that were impactful in his education just opened me up to learning more about my own education, other people's education. And from there, my love for advocacy and people and community just grew and grew and grew. And I always looked for different opportunities to learn more about what was going on in the community and how that would benefit me, my son, my future children, my family. So yeah, I've been just learning and growing through my motherhood journey, but it's taught me so much more because I've always looked for opportunities to just grow us, as a unit.
I love that.
And can I say something real quick because Sherelle Sherelle for real is a silent assassin. I'm gonna keep it 100. Like the way she navigates community and advocacy is to be highly sought after. So when I seen that Sherelle
Appreciate
applied
that.
to be in the community working group, I was like, we need her
I
because what I
appreciate
know for sure is she knows the people.
that. Hmm.
She keeps her ear to the ground like nobody I've ever met. Like I'll be
Hmm.
going through something and be like, "Who's a part of this, Sherelle?" And she ain't told
Always in
nobody,
something.
no, but she is in there like swimwear, working
Nosy.
things out, making sure people understand the people's perspective. So
But I
I just want to
love the
give you your,
people. Like
yeah,
I love the people.
you do, and it's
I
evident.
love I love the people. I love to be around folks in community. I love to give love, receive love, share that. And I just sometimes I think like you gotta step back and give somebody else some opportunity. So I do let some things pass. Now this community working group, I applied on the very last day. Like I
Mm,
hesitated. I seen it and I said, I'm gonna just share it with some other people. They would be great for it. I'm gonna share it with some folks who have teenagers who can apply for the youth community working group. So I really, really hesitated. But when I applied, I really enjoyed the question about like who are your neighbors or what's community to you? And I just start thinking about the old folks on my block, the kids on my block, the shop owners down the street, the people who run the organizations who I'm oh so familiar with. So I just felt like I need to have my voice in this because I don't know who's gonna be at the table. But if you trying to do something that has to do with me and my people, then let somebody who really loves them and wants to see their success be a part of that.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, I
And I
appreciate
really do think I appreciate that because you can hear the love. I think that's what I hear when I talk to people from Pittsburgh in general. It's like they love where they are and they love their neighborhoods and they love seeing that thrive. And so, how do you see families and parents and those things that you love playing a role in this comprehensive plan? And tell us a little bit of what you do on the community working group.
Well, the community working group so far has been a lot of learning. It's been a lot of the consultant folks from the city teaching us about this planning process, teaching us about what they've done so far, how things have come together so far, and also kind of teaching us some of that community engagement and how we should interact with folks when we are trying to gather information. It's different than simply having a conversation, but trying to encourage them to share your feedback and put your input in this. But we've definitely been learning a lot. And personally, me being out in the community so far, we've been doing a lot of survey collecting, so getting people to try to take the priority surveys, even still the 90s to 1 surveys. So us being in the community, well, me in particular, I can only speak for myself. It's just like being outside to breathe with folks. At least that's my style of community engagement.
Yeah.
Talking to folks about the things that matter, the things that's actually going on in our neighborhood. Because most of the events that I've done are in neighborhoods that's local to me. So it's familiar faces. It's I know a lot of people's kids, and they may not know that I know where I know their kids from or how, but I know a lot of people's kids. So when I see kids and then I see their parents, boom, easy to connect. We could talk about the schools, we could talk about the after schools, we could talk about the sports, we could talk about safety, we can talk about anything under the sun because I have that connection with them. So I'm engaging with the community members and businesses because I do make sure that I talk to business owners whenever I'm out canvassing and passing out information because they're connected to people in a different type of way than I am. But engaging with folks has been very, very, very interesting. There are some people who are totally against sharing any information because they feel like, well, we've been down this road before. You know,
Mm,
we've had folks talk to us about changes they want to implement in our neighborhood, in our communities, but yet we don't see the benefits of that. You know, we don't even get any of the residuals. If so many of these ideas that folks have wanted to implement prior have been great ideas, why are the conditions still the same or worse in some areas for some people? So it's been a mix of emotions. It's been a mix of opinions and feedback from the community, but for the most part, it's been pretty accepted. People are open to listening.
and
Mhm.
do you feel like I love that you showed us the bittersweet side because, like, let's be honest, a lot of neighborhoods have neighborhood plans, and yes, we've sat down for the development conversations, and yes, we've sat down for the RCOs and laying out guidelines for how people should talk to communities. Other than really kind of not having the trust there, what other issues are you hearing from parents in your community or from people in your communities that you think you should be paying attention to? And I know trust is the big thing. If we can't get them to the table, but I have faith in your ability to be a community builder to do that. And so, what other major things are you hearing from folks in your communities that you're surveying or
hmm
conversing with?
people definitely talk a lot about housing. They talk a lot about housing instability. About it's like there's a abundance of a lack of housing. There
Mm,
are a lot of neighborhoods that have, um, it seems
no.
as if it's more unoccupied housing than it is housing. So
Mhm.
how
Mm,
many families are really living together that could be living down the street from each other? How many families are, I mean, they're chasing housing. You know,
mm,
they're priced out of this neighborhood, priced out of that neighborhood. Can't live here because it's going to take my kids 2 hours to get to school on a bus. So a lot of families are definitely, a lot of individuals are definitely talking about housing or the lack thereof. And one thing I always touch on is education because education and housing kind of go hand in hand if you think of property taxes and the funding that's going into these schools. So it's like, well, if we have an abundance of a lack of housing, then what
mm.
does that look like directly for the students who are in schools in these neighborhoods? Um, I'm trying to think of just poor neighborhoods in the city. They probably all have a school, a community school, because
Sheridan.
there's somewhere that the children have to go. They can't bus them across town. Bus all the kids across town. So I always like to talk to parents about that because I just feel like it's a direct connect to our success as a community, as a Black community. If we're not able to educate our kids well due to whatever reason, due to whatever reason why our kids score poorly on these state standardized exams, for whatever reason why our children don't have great attendance rates in school. I try to connect these things to the stuff that we're talking about in the community with families and this comprehensive plan to kind of show them if we don't have your feedback, then none of this changes. All of it stays the same. There's not going to be a lot of options if we don't care if we don't hear from the people um who feel optionless.
Mm.
Because I wanted to try to make a connection between two things that you said. So when I'm thinking about the comprehensive plan, I'm thinking about the fact that it is a set of recommendations, essentially, that we're going to give to city council, right? And when we're thinking about city council, we're thinking about the people who represent your neighborhood, right? So these are the people who are making decisions about your school, about what housing exists or don't exist, and all that things. And what I'm thinking about is how can we utilize this as a tracker for these people who supposedly represent us.
Mm,
So if the plan is informed by our ideas, the solutions that we want to see at the table, how can we use this to be able to say, this is what we told you we want in Sheridan. Why ain't you doing it?
mm, mm,
Like that's my thought process because yes, we have to make these connections like you said. The schooling is a direct result of the fact that my home is in Sheridan.
mm.
Within my home, I can locate right now, within one block of my house, I can think about 3 abandoned houses that
Wow.
are not taking tax dollars, that people who are not paying taxes. No one is living there. So the houses are dilapidated and nobody now wants to come live there. And I'm thinking about how that is informing the school that we have a community school in Sheridan that's down the street.
Mm,
And the fact that we have high teacher turnover at that school, the fact that the school is not getting funding as robust as it should, even though it serves a ton of students. And
mm,
so when we're thinking about the plan and we're thinking about how community working group members are engaging, one of the things I'm hoping is happening is that we're helping people to understand like this is what we can, this is a document that we can now go to city council and be like, this is what we told you we want our city to look like by 2050. These are the things that need to happen in order for that to happen. Why ain't you doing that, city council member? Why ain't you doing that, school board member?
Yeah.
What is the RCO doing to support these things to happen?
Mhm.
If we can't, if we don't come to the table, people like Cherrell are silent assassins who know what's happening in the community, who know what needs to be done, who are listening to the words of the community members. But if we don't come to the table and be a extensive part of putting this plan together, none of those things are going to change. And even with the plan, it's going to be hard for these things to change because we
Oh,
still
yeah.
have to fight bureaucracy. We still
Mhm.
have to fight people. Let's just keep it 100 city council members, school board members who say they're going to do something and do a whole nother thing. But at
Mhm.
least with a comprehensive plan versus a neighborhood plan, we can say, this is what you're supposed to be doing to not
Mhm.
only move my community forward, but to move the city forward. Why
Mhm.
ain't you doing it?
Mhm.
So that's what I'm hearing when you're talking, Cherrell. Is like,
Yeah. A way to hold people accountable who, I mean, I know a lot of young folks especially don't vote. I think at least in the black community it's a lot of elders who vote, who have been voting for a long time, who
absolutely.
maybe aren't experiencing the city in the same way that younger people are experiencing the city. I mean, you lived here for 75 years, so, and I'm just, and with love, you're closer to on your way out than you are on your way in. So the things that you may experience just don't hit as hard as the little kids on the block who need safe places to play and good schools to go to, and healthy, happy neighbors and healthy, happy homes around them to prevent illness and things that can exacerbate their life as they're getting older. So older folks, the ones who definitely vote more, don't experience the city the way that
Right.
younger folks do. So it's like, how do you get younger people to vote? How do you get younger people to take in this information and take it serious? Take it serious. Life is delicate, fragile. We see how quickly things can change and be, not beneficial for us, and overtake our lives and stuff like that. So how do we get the people who need to be receiving this information most to really take it serious, to begin to hold those people at city council accountable, hold the people in other councils accountable? As I have been learning in this work, I've learned that there's things like ward chairmen and stuff that you can talk to and take issues to, and then they can kind of be like a liaison between you and city council and stuff. But who knows that?
Right.
Who
right.
even knows that? So I really would hope that we can begin to reach the folks who we need to reach. As a CWG member, I do have an opportunity to have an event to kind of discuss this information with the public. And I've really been thinking about how I could throw the best party for teenagers and young adults because their input is just as valid as the mom on the block with three kids. You know, it's not this is not input that's just for adults. It says 2050. I don't know how old y'all gonna be, but I'm gonna be pretty old. So this is for my 7-year-old, my baby, my 16-year-old. You know, this is for them. So I'm really thinking about how I
Yeah.
can have a super fun party for some young folks, but it be a healing environment. You know, it'd be a place where the kids can come and lay some things down, but be greeted with open arms, receive hugs and stuff from their peers. But also, let's talk about these priority areas. Let's talk about what really matters. Like, how do you feel here as a young person who may potentially be an adult that grows up and lives and grows old here? So that's
Yeah.
kind of how I'm feeling about all of this.
I really love that. I think like I wonder if we're I don't know. I think we're always planning for our individual futures. Like, what am I going to be when I grow up? Where am I going to live? But I wonder if there's also a lesson in how we're living for the future, right?
Mm.
And how we're learning about the future, right? And so I think Pittsburgh never imagined maybe that steel was going to collapse and the industry was just going to move out of Pittsburgh. But I don't know if with all the environmental after effects and all these things, the houses are so huge because all these families were living in them, multiple families. I don't know if we thought for the future and said, I don't know. We might, so how do we? I think you're right. We have to look at this from the lens of your 16-year-old or your 12-year-old or your daughter or your nieces or your children, because they are going to be the ones who are living in the effects of it.
Mhm.
How do we start to do that? And I think empathy is in that. I think getting
Mhm.
out and talking to the people is in that. And I think exactly what you're doing is a part of um, making sure that we're getting people to say, this is ours. And then I'm thinking about the nation. We we can't, I mean, we need to focus on local power.
Mhm. Mhm.
Safeguard ourselves with the values of the city of Pittsburgh. And I think there are not a lot of people who know better about what Pittsburgh's values than the people who have lived there their entire
Mhm.
lives,
Exactly.
or
Exactly.
who dedicate their life to that space, or who understand it. And so, like, let's steep ourselves in values to
Mhm.
safeguard ourselves from changing politicians and changing people and changing council folks. Like, I'm saying,
Mhm.
it's cute that you're new, but we have this document that
Yeah.
said we're holding you accountable to what we feel like sustainability and thriving is. And
Mhm.
so I also look at this comprehensive plan as like drilling down on our values and saying, hey, Pittsburgh has spoken, and banging the gavel
Yeah.
and saying that's it. And like, anyone who doesn't we should take very seriously anyone who doesn't hold themselves accountable to that. We should. And I think
Yeah.
that's the other flip side. We should be more irate. We should be more
Mhm.
angry, more excited,
Mhm.
more zeal, more fervor.
Yes.
Be a part of this because we have to be. And I think about our ancestors a lot. They had to be they had to be pretty fed up to go sit in places where people were spitting on them or sit throwing ketchup at them. So like,
Mhm.
where's that? How do we get that level of concerned energy in this space?
Mhm. You know,
What do
I
you
think about what you said about the ancestors. I mean, we've lived under oppression for ever, for so long. But what was it in folks that said enough is enough?
enough?
But what is it in us that we're not saying enough is enough? That is it psychological conditioning that is just I mean, maybe we've lived under oppression for a lot longer than some of our ancestors, depending on where I don't know, but I always try to wrap my head around why are you comfortable in pain? Why are you comfortable in poverty? Why are you comfortable in what you don't deserve? So it's and I Muffy, you and I had talked, and I feel a way, and I don't know what that way is, but the comprehensive plan is great, but I think there are some key folks on the comprehensive, the community working group who are kind of bringing that same energy to say, this is great, but it's deeper than getting together, talking, putting some stuff on paper, making some new parts. It's deeper than that. It's deeper than getting some things on paper, getting some folks in a room to talk to them about this, getting service. It's deeper than that. It's not just, hey, we're going to come up with this idea, we're going to implement it, and we're going to see what happens. It has to be, okay, we're going to take a deep dive, take a deep look, kind of break some things down, and then go from there. You got to start from where the people are, not from where you think they should be or where you predict it would be best for them to be.
Mm,
So, you
I
know,
agree.
That was
And
a big one, yeah.
I also think, and Alyssa and I have talked about this in detail, I think that we have to begin to understand what discomfort actually means for marginalized people, right? We
Yes.
have to begin to understand that, because I think when we, like, everybody wants to, at this point in our timeline, our political timeline, our social timeline, our emotional, even relationship timelines, we want people to be irate, but we don't understand that irate costs some folks a lot.
mhm,
And so when we talk about level of comfort, like, why am I so comfortable? It's because what you have, when you think about marginalized folks and what they have to juxtapose their discomfort with, it's a lot different than what other people have to juxtapose their discomfort with. For Black folks, discomfort for us could look very, very raw. It could look like losing your job. It could look like losing a family member. It could look like being homeless. It could look like, so it's like, can I stay here in my level of comfort where I
mhm,
don't experience those things? Or can my anger, my rage, my disagreement, can I go to that space and then potentially risk some of these things? So I do
mhm,
think it's hard to ask Black folks to act out, or marginalized people, period. I think it's hard to ask us to act out because we have so much to lose. And when we talk about losing, like when we talk about it right now, like you said, to talk about it in a room is one thing. To
mhm,
experience it in your life, to experience the loss of a loved one because of some political interruption, or to experience being homeless. I don't know anybody who's ever had housing insecurity, but if you've had housing insecurity, you know what it feels like to not have a place to go.
Mhm.
That is a visceral, that clicks in a way that most people don't ever have to experience. So,
mhm,
what I would say is that I think when we're talking about the comprehensive plan, we have to find ways to energize people, but we also have to understand that for some people, discomfort means risking a whole lot. And
right,
many of us are not that removed from that discomfort, right?
Right.
We are maybe one generation or two generations. We may have experienced homelessness, hunger, loss of immediate family members in our childhoods. And as
mhm,
adults, we are now at the place where it's like life is a little bit more comfortable. Most
mhm,
people are not going to go back to that. And so they're
mhm,
always thinking about their risk meter, right? Like,
mhm,
how much can I
mhm.
actually afford to risk? So, what
Yeah.
I would say is we have to, as marginalized folks, but also as Pittsburghers as a whole, we have to begin to think more strategically. We've got to begin to play chess. We've got to begin to understand that our words and our actions on a political and strategic level can be more effective than risking all that our ancestors lived for us to gain. So,
Mhm.
Right.
yes, we don't want to be in rooms and not tell the truth. We don't want to say what we didn't mean to say. We don't
Mhm,
want to intentionally or even unintentionally harm our community members. but we also got to understand that the game that we're playing politically is a game of minds. It's a game of strategic action and not just action for action's sake.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And I'm curious, Cherrell, in addition to Muffy's, I feel like that was such a good summation of balance and acknowledging of the past and acknowledging of the truth and acknowledging why it's difficult for people to come and acknowledging also why you still need to come to
Right.
it, even if it's hard. And so I'm curious, Cherrell, how can you encourage some of our listeners to see themselves as a part of the planning conversation or even offer words of encouragement to other folks, especially parents, as to why their voice matters in the comp plan?
Well, I'll just encourage people by saying, remember what our neighborhoods used to look like.
Mm,
Remember things like seeing Miss Musician coming to the Hill to perform, to
wow,
party. Your
wow.
grandma probably went on with some of these to go listen to
Chilling
some
with
of these.
Lena Horne.
Yeah, yes. Remember that there were several grocery stores in lots of different neighborhoods.
Wow.
Remember the self sustainability that people actually had, and know that if they had less than us back then, we can have all that today. We have the minds, we have the abilities, we have geniuses who are not afraid to let their light shine. We gotta be inspired by all of that. We gotta be inspired by the past to help us shape our present and our future.
I love that. I
Agreed.
love that. Pittsburgh, remember who you are as you step into the future. And that's, I also agree with you. These neighborhoods have the infrastructure. It's in their bones. Your
It's
bones
in their
remember.
minds. Yes, yes. Remember when your block was full of people.
Yep.
Remember that and
Yes,
give that to your kids and your grandkids.
And
yes.
Cherrell, the crazy thing about that is I remember that I grew up in between Homewood and Wilkesburg. When I was born, we moved to Jarrett Street. Jarrett Street was 2 blocks away from City Foods. Me and my
Mhm.
mom and my sister used to walk to City Foods grocery store.
Wow.
Crazy.
So this is not
It's
far
not
fetched.
new.
What we're asking for is not far fetched.
No.
Right. It's
It's
not
the infrastructure is already there. It's just a matter of putting stuff back where it belonged at.
exactly. That's what I tell my kids all the time. Put it back.
Put
If
it back.
you got something, put it back where it was, and everything's gonna be good. And
Put
for
it back.
in the
Keep
house,
the order. Put it
yeah,
back.
put that stuff back.
Remember, it's in your community's DNA, and just put it back.
Just put
Put
it
it back.
back.
And I
Yeah.
think that's why I love when people show up to remind us, just put it back.
Absolutely.
Let technology and all the other things take care of modernizing it. Just put it back and we'll
Mhm.
take care of it. So
Mhm.
Cherrell, you gave me so much energy. When we all came on this call, I feel like we had good energy, but words of encouragement, I was like, yeah, yeah, you remember who you are. Like Mufasa telling Simba, like, remember who you are,
Absolutely.
remember. So thank you for joining us, Muffy. I think that's it. I think we
Yeah,
have
that's it.
successfully
Thank you,
completed our.
Sherelle.
All
Thank
right.
you
Thanks
so
for
much, so
having me, y'all.
much. Join us next Tuesday at 12 with Planning with a Purpose podcast. As always, Cherrell, you gave me life, and Muffy, you always give me life. Thank you both for being raw and candid here today.
Thank
Appreciate
you
it.
for being the hostess with the mostest, Alyssa.
Yes. Yes. Have
Thank
a
you.
good day.
All right.
Y'all, peace.